Ah yes, my favorite hero sideboard. Sideboard. Saw few kids playing cricket in the park. Maybe didn't have a coin. So for the toss, they launched one of themselves in the air. If he lands bat first, heads. If belly first, tails. He landed sideways. Got up and shared the idea of launching the cricket bat. Blue team won. My nephew 3-year-old broke a glass in my kitchen yesterday. My fault for giving him a glass. It happens. I told him to get out of the kitchen because glass shards fly everywhere. So I had to clean the floor before he could come in again. The glass he broke had juice and he was still thirsty. I told him I'll get you another orange juice soon. But I have to clean this up before we do anything else. Mother ducker looks me dead in the eye to assert dominance. Kneels down and clicks the ducking kitchen floor. This afternoon I noticed sneakily grabbing some fishing nails. So I followed him and caught him red-handed. He told me he was setting a trap. My little brother 12-year-old Bobby trappy set after I let him home for 1 hour. 4-year-old is livid because she thought we were traveling by ferry, not ferry. Kids are the best, man. They get all shocked when you figure out they did something wrong, like, "Mom, how do you know I colored on the table?" Because you wrote your ducking name on it. Once when my mom was shopping with me in the cart, I kept dropping this 101 Dalmatians figurine on the floor to watch her pick it up. Finally she said, "If you drop that one more time, I won't pick it up." I then dropped it on the floor and she left it. I remember screaming as she carted away. I will be bringing home an adorable little puppy next week, and since I was at a cafe with kids who wanted to pet the little guy, I thought I'd get their opinion on what I should name him. Some were very standard names like Buddy and Spike, but 2 kids were just in another world entirely. Kid 1. You should call him. Looks around frantically. Table. Me. Kid 2. No. You should call him Young. Me. Young. White hat. Expecting something about a terrible SoundCloud rapper. Kid 2. Because he's young. He's a baby. Don't let your kids name pets. Sometimes I pause the game to let the runner catch a breath. My 8-year-old cousin. My 2-year-old has it in his head that water tastes best when you drink it from the floor. This results in him dumping out any water cup we give him so that he can bend down and slap it up. If you catch him in the act, he'll stop. But if you take your eyes off of him for a second, he'll be dumping it out again. There are a lot of toddler sippy cups that are anti-spill, so that very little comes out if you accidentally knock them over. But most of those aren't designed to handle a perpetual effort to release their contents onto the floor. Eventually though, we did find a brand that has a good airtight seal. If you aren't providing a lot of snaction, the liquid inside won't leave the container. It's great. However, my son likes to solve his own problems. He figured out that he could snack the liquid into his mouth, hold it here until we look away, and then spat out onto the ground. Once he's done this once or twice, he will then bend over and slap it off the ground again. Kids. When I was like 5, I thought Mount Rushmore just naturally looked like the presidents, the way sometimes a potato chip accidentally looks like Jesus. When I was 3 I wanted mac and cheese for lunch. My mom explained, "Sorry, it says macaroni and cheese dinner." I then asked to go to the store to get one that said lunch. The other day, my granddaughter came up to me and said, "I tried to pop in the toilet but I couldn't. But I popped over there." I looked where she was pointing, just in time to watch my daughter pick up a turd the size of a plum from behind the dining room table. My sister take her kid's Nintendo Switch away at night, so the kids made a fake Switch and tried to swipe the real one and put the fake in its place. My teacher told the class that he has seen kids around our age 16 to 17 wearing these Che Guevara t-shirts because they thought it was Bob Marley. I just drank a Lego piece. What the duck? You melted plastic and drank the liquid? I didn't eat it. Yes. Why? I drank it. Why'd you melt a Lego? Because it looked like a chocolate. So I drank it. Chocolate shake. Thanks ya little ace-hole. The original is hung up on my grandma's fridge, but she made sure it was immortalized in a photo album for good measure. I see myself as courageous. I pulled a string out of my cat bat. When I was very young, my favorite toy was this miniature butterfly and caterpillar. One day I was playing by myself and wanted to play treasure hunt, so I buried the caterpillar in the garden to search for it, assuming I would remember where I buried it. Well, I didn't find it again. I was devastated, so my parents bought me a new one. You'll never guess what I did with the new one. I buried it and lost it again. Human anatomy courtesy of my 6-year-old. My 7-year-old son's brilliant way to never lose the only key he has for this lock. My son just tipped a bottle of water and he's lying down so that it can trickle into his open mouth. Yes, I'm also waiting for the end results. Once as a kid I was walking home in heavy downpour over a narrow bridge when I got the sudden urge to test the law of gravity. So naturally, I did what anyone would do. I took off one shoe, held it over the edge and let go. I still remember watching it fall and float away in the river current. I was obsessed with volcanoes in 2nd grade. The volcano is exploding, lava is pouring down. The people going to die. When I was about 4 years old, I locked myself and my younger sister in our room and threw the key behind the bed afterwards. I wasn't able to reach it and my dad had to break the door. Still no idea why I did that. Imagine cleaning this up. My brother said his 3-year-old daughter showed him this in her play microwave. He didn't remember the last time they had spaghetti for dinner. My 10-year-old cousin's search history. Yes, she searched Google for her mom's WhatsApp OTP. Left a 6 and 7-year-old alone with a baby doll and markers. When I was a kid, probably around 10 to 11, used to help my mom cook/bake foods. One day we were gonna make cookies because my mom had just gone out to buy all the stuff to make them. We started mixing stuff together when we found out we had no butter left, and we also couldn't find my 4 to 5-year-old sister. Well, after my mom left to go to the gas station in town to grab some butter, I had found my sister hiding behind a door with half a stick of butter in her hands with teeth marks all over it. This continued for another 2 to 3 years. I don't know how, I don't know why, but I know she did. Hide and seek with kids. I said line the cars up for the race. These kids not giving a shit about our house. I told them not to leave them on the walls as they leave these marks that don't dry. So what do? Throw every single one on the wall for me to discover 2 days later. In grade 3, my brother had to do shape poetry. The shape he chose, a grenade of course. A treat from my sister. Donkey Kong is mad. He is UFO BWE and is gonna go. Oh god, monkey on you. In April 2009, a 6-year-old Norwegian boy named Crust pressed his parents to send a letter to King Harald V of Norway to approve his name being changed to Sonic X. Signature look of superiority. When I was 6 years old, my mother wouldn't let me watch my Barney VHS tape, so I smashed it on the ground. Needless to say, I really couldn't watch it after that. In my obsession with turning off switches before heading for the school bus one morning, I ran upstairs to turn all the lights out. So I went back down the stairs in the dark and my mom's steps are in kind of an L shape, so the last 3 or 4 steps are on a corner. Anyway, I missed the last few steps and landed funny on my ankle. Went to school. They sent me home because I couldn't get my UGG boot back on. Went downstairs in the dark, even though thinking about it 13 years later the downstairs hallway has a ducking switch for the upstairs landing. Probably for the exact ducking reason. Kids are ducking stupid. 5-year-old me playing mini golf. I'm right-handed. So when I was in 4th or 5th grade, my class was doing some project with the kindergarteners. I was talking with a buddy from my class when, unprompted, a little girl comes up to us and says rather smugly, "I know the difference between boys and girls." My buddy and I exchange a glance of what the hell? And I ask her, "Okay, what is it?" This butch really goes there, with the biggest smile on her face. Us older kids sigh with a nervous giggle and I go, "Yep, you got it." Child keeps changing thermostat. Dad locks it. Child comes to Reddit to cry about it. My father set a password to the ducking thermostat. My sister cut the crust off. Back when we were about 6 or 7, my best friend and I used to spray this in our mouth and swallow it to be able to get out of school sick. Never actually worked, and I didn't realize how stupid it was till thinking about it earlier this week. When I was a kid and I hear songs with Kid Michael Jackson in them, I always thought that it was a modern singer with their voice edited to sound like a chipmunk. 13-year cousin is too entitled to things that auntie stole the pandas from my Lego set. Second image, to get back at me for hiding them from him after saying no to letting him have them 4 times. Kid knows how to park better than some adults, to be honest. When I was really young, like barely a toddler, I thought I was the coolest person alive for being able to aim my pass well. So naturally when my parents had visitors come over, I sat up my teddy bear in the living room and said, "Okay Teddy, let's pay and pass directly on the carpet, right on target." Simply savage you are. Kids too stupid to realize it's a summon game, not a climbing apparatus. Help, I need a boyfriend. Like just be like 14 and emo and I'm sad. Aha, same. I don't care if it's a boyfriend, girlfriend or anything else, just want someone. Lol. How old are you, if you don't mind me asking? Oh, I'm 14. Age regressed or nah? I was singing "You Are My Sunshine" to my 3-year-old and he told me he hates that song. I said that's a shame because I used to sing it to him when he was in my tummy before he was born, and he looked me dead in the eyes and said I hated it then too. I've got 7-year-old twin boys. They regularly tell me their mom is their favorite. Fair enough, but when they told her they loved her to the moon and back, I asked how much they loved me. To the butchers they said, "The butcher's shop is next door." Brutal. Asked my 5-year-old what she wanted for dinner and she said not a burned quesadilla because in the summer of 2019 I overcooked one side of her quesadilla. This little girl I'm babysitting just asked me if I have a boyfriend and I said not anymore, and she said boyfriends are a waste of time, and then she turns to her brother and tells him you're gonna be a waste of time. Went to bed last night and almost had a heart attack. Child insisted she had to print something for school. La. My younger cousins thought it would be fun to play with my Naruto figures while I was at school. Today at camp, the kids were supposed to make a princess or superhero mask. Julia chose to make her own vampire bat mask. My kids were very addicted to mobiles and used to play games all the time, so I changed the wallpaper. When a kid sees you with your phone out, this kid knows what's up. A. Who is your hero? Dad. B. Why do you consider this person your hero? He is brave. C. Is there anything your hero is frightened of? Mom. When you ask your teenager to please empty the dishwasher and take out the trash. Computer games don't affect kids. I mean, if Pac-Man affected us as kids, we'd all be running around in darkened rooms, munching magic pills, and listening to repetitive music. Kids complaining about Spotify. They don't know the real struggle. Kids will call your name 1,000 times just to turn around and do something like this. I used to see those signs around stores that said, "Shoplifters will be prosecuted." I didn't know what shoplifting meant. I figured it was like weightlifting with the entire store building as the weight. I pictured big, burly, bald men that like to go around heaving store buildings overhead, grunting and red-faced. I was afraid someone would do it while we were out shopping. I once pointed out some big muscular guy in a store and whispered to my mother that he must be one of those shoplifters. She shushed me. I believed we could reincarnate as everything. I do mean everything. For example, I thought people could reincarnate as TVs and wondered if my TV was a person in its previous life and if it could see me watching it. I like to consider I was a pretty smart kid, so no idea why the duck I believed that. 3 of my grandparents moved to the US from Italy, and everyone they knew were either Italian immigrants or Italian Americans raised by immigrants. Growing up around so many older folks speaking with heavy Italian accents and random intermittent Italian words in conversation, I just assumed until the age of 7 that when you got old, you just started sounding Italian after a while, like your baby accent falling out and your adult Italian accent growing in. When I was about 4, my older sister told me that since the population of Japan was so high, Japanese people slept sideways on their beds so they could fit more people on every bed. I believed it until I went to a sleepover at 13 and suggested that we sleep Japanese style on the bed so everyone could fit. When I was around 5 or 6, we watched the original King Kong, and I asked why it was in black and white. My dad joked that that's what the world used to look like. He didn't realize that I was very dumb and believed that for a very long time. Me and my brother have the same birthday, 8 years apart. When I was like 4 or 5, I remember thinking that if we have the same birthday, that means we are twins. But he's 8 years older than me, so logically, I must have been cryogenically frozen or something for 8 years, because that was the only way we could possibly have had the same birthday. When I was 3, my dad was having a birthday and somehow I got the idea he wasn't going to be my father anymore, and that's why they were throwing a party. I had a really bad family. When I was very young, I thought there were 2 types of tornadoes. The real ones, funnel, and another that was what I can only describe as a horizontal roller in a bike fume cleaner snacking up into the sky. A Kodak commercial in the 80s, I was born in 1986, had me convinced if I opened a packaged roll of Kodak film, I'd be instantly transported to Disney World. I tried twice. My mom was very annoyed that I opened 2 rolls of film at the grocery store. I was 3 or 4 years old. I was out with my dad, and we came across a person missing their leg. It was probably an amputee. I asked my dad what happened to their leg. Him, probably being tired of all my questions, just said that it had broken off. A few months later I broke my leg in kindergarten and freak out at the doctor's office because I was convinced it was going to fall off. When I was 7, I had a baby brother. Shortly after his birth, my mother had to go to the hospital again. Allergy. Little me had already learned that hospitals bring babies, so I asked my mother if she had another one. Some years ago, my brother, a respected academic with confident opinions on his own intellect, was at a dinner when the subject of large animals came up. The biggest animal in the world is a blue whale. said someone, and my brother immediately interrupted with some gravitas. That's right. And its name is Solomon. Then he immediately clammed up and looked really embarrassed. Turns out that when he was a small child, and I mean like 4, our father had taken him to the Natural History Museum in London. The museum has a life-size model of a blue whale, which had made an impression on him. What's it name, Daddy? My brother had asked, and my dad had simply made one up. That nugget had stuck in his head for a couple of decades, but absent any real reason to recall it, he'd never considered it might not be true. Until then. Ninja Turtle Pizza. My mom would order Ninja Turtle Pizza for my sister and me when we were kids. This is not a real thing though, and was a clever way to get us to eat mushrooms and black olives, which were the toppings on a Ninja Turtle pizza. However, when we became adults/teenagers, we would suggest that pizza to our friends when ordering in social gatherings, and nobody had any idea what the duck we were talking about. Okay, hold on to your bits, because this is a good one. I was a very gullible child, and my mom used to drive down during the summers with her bestie to hang out with her BFF's family in 29 Palms, California, where Cassandra's, the BFF in question, nephews lived. If us kids were being annoying, the family would send us out to look for stick lizards. They're lizards that walk around the desert with sticks in their mouths, and when the sands get too hot, they shove the stick in the sand and climb up the stick to keep their feet cool. So my dumbass would spend an hour looking for this effing lizard with a stick in its mouth and leave the grown-ups to talk. When I was a kid, I thought Jewish people had a genetic trait that caused their sideburns to curl. Lol. I didn't have much experience with Jewish religion aside from a large section of my town being supported by the Hasidic community, and figured that was a defining characteristic of Jewish, like how Irish had red hair or something. LMAO. I was absolutely convinced. I woke up one night and saw Santa. He's real. Every time someone in my class at school started saying he's fake, I was all no, I've actually seen him. Now that I'm all grown up, I realize my mistake. I should never have let you guys convince me he's not real. Since becoming an adult, I need Santa more than ever. Help me, Santa Claus. You're my only hope. I believed that when you ate food, it stacked in your stomach and the pile would eventually get too big and come out of your mouth. My babysitter said this was true, and that when I went to the doctors they removed the food with shots. If you eat a seed, a plant will grow on your head. I once swallowed an orange seed when I was 8 and got anxiety for how many months because of it. Abraham Lincoln was African American. I was a kid in a predominantly black school/neighborhood. On money, Abraham Lincoln was the only brown person, and I knew he freed the slaves. I just assumed he was black until about 12 or 13. Thought Gatorade made up the word electrolyte to sell more Gatorade, because electrolyte is an extremely cool word. So extremely cool that kid me thought it must be a marketing tactic instead of an actual real thing that exists. When I saw electrolytes in my high school biology textbook for the first time, I was flabbergasted. I thought most adults were mature people and would do the right thing. That's what Sesame Street wanted me to believe. Being an adult would be loads of fun. Being teenager would be like the Babysitter's Club, Santa and the Easter Bunny. What a lie. Not me, but my close friend. One night when I was probably 7ish, I pretended to be asleep to catch the tooth fairy. Mom eventually came in and rummaged around under my pillow trying to find it, and I just remember being a little shut and giving the classic looking for something that I'd been rehearsing ever since the tooth started wobbling. Long story short, I end up telling my friend this at school, and he went home to his parents and told them he was so amazed that my mom was the tooth fairy this whole time. Whenever there was a James Bond movie on TV, I obviously wanted to watch it as well, but it was always so damn late. My dad let me watch it, but after 5 minutes the intro song began, and it looked like ending credits, so I was told the movie ended, and I had to go to bed. My mom always told me, If you walk barefoot outside you'll get tapeworms. Believed it until I was old enough to know she said a lot of bullshit all the time. When I was 10, a family friend adopted 2 kids. Her first, my mother took me to a toy store with the instructions find something with small pieces that are easy to lose, which also makes lots of noise. She always got that kind of stuff for you. And we are getting it for her kids. On it, mama. I spent an hour carefully considering options before selecting a matching toy where putting different shapes into differently shaped holes would cause little tunes to play. The kids didn't outgrow it for 3 or 4 years and it never got less annoying. Luckily, this friend and my mom have the kind of relationship where they can both laugh about this. When my daughter was 6, a relative gave her a Barney the dinosaur plush toy for Christmas. When you squeezed it, it played different recordings. The first one was always, "Hello again. To all my good friends." Typical cheery boisterous Barney voice. The ones that followed were, "I know. Let's read a book." And "Let's use our imagination." And others like that. My little girl loved that toy and insisted on sleeping with it every night. And every night about 1 AM she would roll over on top of it. In our very dark and quiet house, suddenly there was, "Hello again. To all my good friends." I shot out of bed half asleep for several nights in a row before I finally decided one day to perform a lobotomy on that toy. When I was a kid my sibling and I absolutely loved Play-Doh and my mom had a rule that it could only be on the kitchen table and that we couldn't mix colors. If we made something with multiple colors we had to treat it like a sticker of sorts, and when we were done we had to separate the colors from each other and put everything away into its correct jars. My dad told me he had hearing loss and couldn't hear me if I whined because my pitch would get too high, would completely ignore me until I asked him questions in a normal voice. Trusted him implicitly until I was 12 and he yelled at my younger brother for whining. There was an episode of Mickey Mouse where Mickey couldn't reach something at first, so he tried again and somehow his arm was long enough to reach it. As a small kid I believed that if I couldn't reach something, I should just try reaching for it again, and my arm would then somehow be long enough to reach it. When I was younger I wanted a pet snake, so I would lay on the ground and pretend to be dead so that a snake would come and try to eat me so I could snatch it and keep it as my pet. I wanted a king cobra so bad because I thought that it looked cool. So I did this for like a year and the only reason I stopped was because one of the kids snitched on me and they stopped me from going to recess. I live in Illinois, so I don't know why I tried so hard. Bra kid started crying because he didn't catch the cricker in his mouth. So I must have been about 5/6 at the time when me and my family went over to a close family friend's house. They had a son about my age and an older sister the age of my brother. Anyways they had this back garden that me, their son and my brother were hanging out in, and we thought it would be a good idea to pull down our pants and put our bare beds onto the plants they were growing. Eventually after doing it a couple times the friend's mom caught us and warned us to stop doing it. It obviously didn't faze me because as soon as she left I did it again, and right as I put my ace against the plant I saw her and her daughter's face peering around a corner and we got put in timeout. I feel lucky to have an ATM that does 5s, 10s, 20s, and 50s and lets you select how many of each. Sometimes I withdraw $40 in 5s just cause I can. When you have kids/teenagers those smaller bills make a big difference. My kid needed $5 for an ice cream social they were having at camp. I told him I didn't have it at the moment, but I'd be able to get it by tomorrow. Then I hear him talking to his friend. "Yeah, we are really poor, so my mom doesn't have the money for the ice cream social yet. I think she has to work tomorrow to get it. We are definitely not poor. I just don't carry cash." Ironically neither do my kids. They both have green light for allowances/spending/purchases. I don't think they've ever actually used cash in their lives, except to hand it to me out of a birthday card to transfer the money into their green light account. But because I didn't have $5 at that moment, he assumed we were just poor. Our 4 years gets happy characters for being good each day. On Tuesday we started letting him choose what they said. Bird's the word. Ruff ruff blow your duff. Buff your muff nuff. Mau mau blow your ruffy. When I was a kid, and thanks to Henry Huggle Monster, I thought every mom in the world was in a band. Kids are stupid. My 6-year-old almost became a pirate yesterday. New slogan. OMG just freaked out because she thought she pushed her iron too far and that it wouldn't come out. I legit just choked on my popsicle reading this. Story time. Having shower and camp showers. For the uninitiated, they are all like public toilets but with showers. Dad comes in with son and daughter. Daughter is complaining, saying things like, "It's cold and it's on my face." Dad responds, "Yes, that's because I'm trying to wash your face." After that the son gets in and doesn't care about temperature or anything. Afterwards dad says to son, "You're my little champion." Daughter replies, "Am I a little champion?" Dad says, "No, you complain too much." And daughter throws a tantrum, "I'm a little champion. I'm a little champion." Dad says, "Yes, you are, just in a different way." This all happened in about a minute. Kids are silly critters. I'm sitting behind my 16-month-old daughter in her room, breastfeeding her 2-month-old sister. Suddenly, she clambers up the beanbag chair to join us, struggling all the way. After 20 to 30 seconds of climbing, she gets close enough to click her sister's butt, then take off running. Can't wait to see more shenanigans like this as time goes on. Weird character and Mario Party. I liked Monkey Khan, Yoshi or Luigi. I still like to play them. Monkey Khan. He is a very strong monkey because he is not a donkey. Growing up, spelling wasn't one of my strengths. I'm a light in God's world because I helped my Fred. I gave my Fred a nut crayon. It was raining and my Fred was writing his diary.